Yep, done that. Does that work?
Good afternoon, everyone. We're just starting to see people pile on to the webinar. I'll give you a couple of minutes to make sure everyone that's registered ready to go. So we'll get started in 2 minutes. Okay, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Matthew Gordon and welcome to the webinar. Today we'll be talking about who's tuning out of your online engagement. You've all heard that a picture says 1,000 words, right? Well, that's wrong. For some people it does, and for others, pictures make no sense or have no meaning. Just as there are subtleties in face-to-face that aid or hinder community, these also exist online. So today we'll be joining Cindy Plowman, who will take us through the key learnings and behavioural preferences and how to apply these to your online engagement program. Welcome, Cindy. I'm going to hand it over to you.
Thanks very much, and thanks everyone for joining on. You can see the numbers piling in, so that's great. Certainly something that really changed my world was learning a little bit more about behavioural science. So I have a background in marketing, so my undergrad's in marketing, but I came to social sciences a bit later in life, so I went into planning, strategic planning in particular. And it wasn't really until I started to reflect on, well, how did we do things in a marketing world, and then how do marketers use positive psychology and all the other elements to attract interest. So just quickly, a little bit about me. I started a company called Conversation Caravan. So I love this photo because this is almost essentially what we do. We stand behind bushes and jump out at people and very much focused on place-based engagement. So that's why Matt's fantastic. He's online and all that digital communication. So any digital questions aren't for me, direct them to Matt, very much in the place-based space. So who's tuning out of your engagement? How I wanted to start this discussion was by applying some new thinking. So taking what you're doing now, so the project context, the project information, and start to think about audio-visual, kinesthetic, auditory digital preferences and how you can start to apply those. I'm going to talk a little bit about DISC behavioural profiles and how you can start to use the different personality types and behavioural preferences to shift what you might be doing and really tweak what you're doing. And then go into some key marketing principles that I still use and that I find are really effective. And, you know, the behaviour is exactly how you want it to be. And it's exactly to the principles of online engagement. So this is a little bit about the chat function. So at the bottom of your screen, you've got chat, and down the bottom, you're able to ask comments, join in. Matt's already been sharing a few items to do that. So to start this off, I thought, quick question: as a citizen, how often do you check your council's website, to see what consultation projects are happening? How often are you going in there? Do you go in there once a week? Do you go in there once a day? What's some of the responses? Every 6 months? Never? Very rarely? Yeah, every 6 months.
Only to pay bills?
Yep, sounds about right. Never? Yeah, almost never. And yet, how often if we contrast that, how often do we go into Instagram? You know, and we're essentially doing the same behavior. We go into Instagram almost daily, you know, every 15 minutes, every half an hour, some people have tried to limit their screen time. And we're doing the same type of activity. So we're essentially going into an Instagram or a Facebook or whatever you use and seeing what's new, seeing what's changed. And, you know, if you're reflecting on that, it's essentially the same behaviour. You could be doing that with your council's website, like, oh, what's changed? I wonder if something's new's happened. But we don't, because we know that we're not going to get that level of excitement or joy. And I can pick on the planning industry a little bit, and this is Toronto, so let's pick on Toronto because they normally do everything really well. An example of a statutory public meeting. So this is on the left-hand side is what they used to do, and they have adopted a new approach, which is on the right. So really dry context, and I've always find it so interesting that councils, you know, we're this keeper of so much intelligence, so much information, so much passion and enthusiasm within agencies and organisations, yet we're almost unable to demonstrate that. We're unable to showcase parts of ourselves, parts of our personality, and, you know, something that really is affecting, you know, individuals' properties and homes. So it's interesting that we're trying to change. We're trying to make things a bit more enjoyable. Now I wanted to move you into a different direction. So taking off your council or your agency or organisation hats, and I want you to imagine that you're the festival director for the comedy festival, and your KPIs are ticket sales, reviews, positive media coverage. You know, using the chat function, what would you do differently with your project? So if that was your aim. Get rid of KPIs, yeah, or change the KPIs is interesting too. We often love counting numbers, don't we, in engagement? Which, you know,
I like get comedians in.
Yeah,
I thought we had a few comedians actually in councils.
Yeah, consider the customer experience. Yep, create opportunities for interaction. So we do things quite differently. Easy calls to action. Yeah, fantastic. Oh, there's so many. I've got to minimise it. Because you'd recognise, and part of that change is you're recognising that you're competing for people's time and energy and their passion. And in a crowded place where people have lots of other choice, we are, as engagement practitioners, competing for time, competing for interest, and most of all, people's energy and their passion. You know, think about where you direct your passion. You know, you want to put that passion and enthusiasm into something that, you know, you're getting a return for, or you're getting an interaction, or whatever it is for you. And, you know, a contrast to that, you know, beige is just not going to cut it. You know, if you think about long text, big PDF documents, it just, you know, it doesn't cut it, and it doesn't cut it for everyone. For certain people it does. So we talked a little bit about what you do differently, and ultimately we'd make people feel good about themselves. We'd make people feel something. We'd know that there was lots of competition. We'd be colourful, we'd be entertaining. You know, a couple of you said interaction, thinking about customer service. We'd be relatable, you know, we'd be human beings. We wouldn't be people that were removed from the general public. And I know many of you, myself included, when I was working in organisations, you're really trying to make sure that, you know, we were relatable as well. But you'd also start to employ some strategies used by marketers. So social proof, likability and scarcity, they're three big ones I'm going to talk to you later. So when I spoke about the comedy festival, how did you recreate this in your mind? So again, use a panel chat. How did you use that? How did you recreate it? Yeah. So Matt, that's great. Matt imagined a belly ache from laughing. Love that. I always love my cheeks. My cheeks always get so sore. I've got Danish cheeks, which are quite good for squeezing. Colour, fun, wanting to be a part of it. Yeah, great. Yep. When I think about the comedy festival, I visualise the red curtains and often the dark, dark stage with, with the kind of odd props that are often at the stage. Great, people sharing experiences. Yeah, great. And imagining yourself in that. Novelty lights. Yep, great. Thanks for playing along. Sense of anticipation, so that feeling, great. Wonderful. So what you were each doing there were describing to me what your main preferences were. So for those of you that were imagining yourself physically in a space, you're more kinesthetic learners. So you would have recalled the laughter, sensation. For those of you that were visualising lights, people that you might have been with, anything that you were kind of imagining, you're more visual learners. So that's where I sit, and we discovered Matt sits in kinesthetic. So you're more likely to recreate those scenarios using that. For anyone that is auditory, for anyone that remembered the sounds, heard the laughter, you're an auditory learner, so you prefer things that you can read, often really great at digesting lots of information. And auditory digital is a combination of both visual and auditory. So for anyone that's seen me at the IP2 conference, I spoke a lot about this and we did some fun activities. But this really determines how you consume information. So when Matt introduced the concept, a picture speaks 1,000 words, only to me, because I'm visual. It wouldn't speak 1,000 words to those of you that were hearing things. Matt, who's a feeler, has a more kinesthetic application. So we need to really get into use those modalities, because otherwise people, if something's really text heavy and they're a more visual learner, they'll opt out. It's just too hard. It's too hard for them to actually grasp what's being said. And likewise, kinesthetic learners, you need to give them an experience of what they're going to enjoy. So again, using the chat function, the Comedy Festival is such a great example. Their website is amazing, and it's no wonder that they're so successful. Have a look at it and just provide some comment on how you feel, kinesthetic. The Comedy Festival has taken care of the different preferences. So just have a look at what's on the screen now and think, who's taken care of here? Great. Yeah, great. So videos, yep, videos. And who do you think the videos are for? Which learner? Auditory, visual, kinesthetic? Yep, reviews. Yep. Yeah, it's a great chance for people to connect in different ways. Yep. All the different types of learners. Yeah, they're very clever how they've done it. Lots of visual and auditory. And that's purposeful. So the fact that there is lots of visual and auditory is the majority of the population are those. There's a high portion of the population that are visual and auditory learners. Yeah, fantastic. Stuff to read for those who want more detail. Yeah, perfect. So these are some of the things that I can see. So for visual's absolutely taken care of. You go in there and you can, it's a visual feast. I get in there and I'm like, oh, there's so much in here. I can flick around and really enjoy it. Really clear photos, really clear pictures of what's happening. Sorry, that's moved a little bit. The yellow For the auditory learners, you've got a podcast here. So you can actually go in and you can listen while you're driving and absorb the information that way, because an auditory learner is not necessarily going to be that captivated by the photos. And you can read information. So you can read reviews, you can read what other people are saying and thinking. And then kinesthetic, you can actually experience it. So you'll see we've got comedy rooms around the country. So they've actually got photos of inside the different venues and performances. And you've got an opportunity to sample what it would be like. So they've provided that other layer too, so that kinesthetic learners can really feel what it's going to be like and experience it. And then for auditory digital, they can combine. So they can read it, they can watch it, they're taken care of as well. So thinking about what you've just learned, what are some easy ways that you can take care of those different preferences, specifically around projects that you're doing online? I'll flick you back to the comedy festival.
Just as a reminder for everyone to share their ideas to all panelists and attendees, not just to all panelists, so we can all see your comments.
I was just thinking, one of the ways I used to do this when I was as a coordinator was we'd do little video footage of projects. So we'd actually go onto site and we'd film, if it was a project that was based on a location, we'd take some video footage showing people what it was like. And we did this for a couple of playgrounds where we went in and showed what the state of the playground was like. Use Pinterest, that's great. And Andrew, I'll talk a little bit why I got so excited about Pinterest. You'll know when we go to the DISC profile. Record audio snatches of key messages. That's a great idea. Videos, maps, photos of places. Yeah. Instagram feeds. Yep. Yeah. Yep. Drops on the map. Fantastic. Interviews, vox pops. Yeah, great ideas. Exactly. All those things. And there's some things that you're doing already. But for those of you that are also working in a community engagement, as an advisor, I hope that this gives you some of the tools to be able to say why you need to do that. Because I remember sometimes it's difficult to talk to project managers about why you need to go that extra mile and do some videos. Fantastic. Great. So now I want to move on to Wonder Woman and DISC. So you might be thinking, what does Wonder Woman have to do with online engagement and our next topic of conversation? Does anyone know? Matt, you can't answer this. We talked about it. Does anyone know what Wonder Woman's got in common? Ooh, someone does. Oh, no, that was still something before. Anyone? I'm not making this up either. Colours? No, not the colours. No. Oh, all right. Leadership style. Yeah, close. Yep. If women are better at engaging, yep, definitely. Body language. A lasso of truth. Ooh, lots of things. No, DISC. Oh. With DISC, Wonder Woman has the four behavioural personality types balanced within her. So she was designed to be both decisive, influential, calculating and understanding, but also maintaining a calm presence. So she's actually an archetype for DISC. So DISC is something that is used quite heavily in leadership. So I've got a dorky photo of people working together over something exciting, over a cup of coffee. It's also heavily used in marketing. So DISC is used to predict how people will purchase. So whether they'll purchase based on an experience that they've had before, or whether they're motivated by more forward-thinking goals. So today we're going to use it and apply it to online engagement. So as you're learning this, it's really helpful. So as I start exploring what the elements of DISC are, it's really helpful to start relating that back to who you might know that's in that personality. Because when we're learning something, we want to anchor it by relating it to someone. So you might say, my boss is like a D, or my sister is like the C or the S, so that you can start to relate it and it really ingrain that thinking into your mind. So DISC, I'll take you through a little bit of an overview of the 4 main personality types. Oh, is there a question? Just saw the pop up. My 5-year-old is definitely an influencer. Yeah, great, love it. Yeah, really social, I imagine, and quite gains their energy from other people. So there's 4 main quadrants within DISC, and it's something that's been around for a really long time. I thought I had a slide on that, but I mustn't have. It's actually been around since the lie detector. So it was formally created in that period and then was gradually revised and changed and modified. And it's backed by about 200, I think it's over 200 separate meta programs that predict behaviour. So something that's been around for a really long time and is quite good at predicting how people will behave. So the first one is a D, so dominant. This person wants information fast, makes a decision fast, comfortable with seeing a big picture, comfortable making decisions. They don't need a lot of information and they want the question answered. So you might be able to think of someone in your world that's really fast, can come across a bit impatient at times, and kind of wants to get the facts straight away. That person's a D. And I'll talk a little bit later about how that person wants to consume information and how it relates to online engagement. So will it be fun? An I, an influencer. So like connecting, interacting with other people. They gain their energy from others, often see the positive side in life, and enjoy people and share their stories. And again, they don't need a lot of information either to make a decision. What's really interesting about influencers is you might find when you're engaging them, you might have to switch your questioning too, because they won't often easily answer questions that have a negative frame. Not that you'd say this, but what's wrong with this place? You'd almost need to ask them what needs improving. S, so S stands for steadfast, and they're more about making sure that it's going to be comfortable. Their main driver is, will it be comfortable? Will I be comfortable in this situation? So they can come across in an engagement context, often agreeable on the surface. However, they're usually reserving their judgment. Fairness and justice are important to them, and they want a lot of they want more information. So they want all the relevant information so that they can then go away and ponder it, and they will often want more time for thought. So they're unlikely to engage on the spot. They might need to go away and think about it or get the information a bit earlier. And they'll often confer with others. What do you think about this? What do you think? So they're more collaborative in their decision making. C, so C stands for compliance, and they're mainly about will I be right? So typical industries that are C tend to be computer programmers, accountants, really great at digesting lots of information. They may not make the final decision alone, but they focus on the facts and details, and usually quite good at finding inconsistencies. So I used to get it, I'm an I and a D. And I used to get that, in my work, because I would put something out there that might have had a spelling mistake, because bang, just need to get it happening. And someone in the community would send me an email and say, you've misdone the fact, which I'm sure many of you can relate to as well. And they like a lot of supporting information and can consider lots of information. So if we're thinking online, they're the ones that are going to download your PDF, read it, send it back to you with some spelling mistakes, and question you on some of the facts. So I'm just thinking, does that make sense before I move on? Is there any questions about DISC using the chat function? In your experience, which archetypes do you think we usually cater for? Ooh, good question. What do you think? My view is I feel like we cater for C's a lot. I think we expect, and whether it's because we feel as if we're worried that people are going to, to come back to us, and we're worried about trust issues in the community. We tend to focus a lot on C's. So we tend to put a lot of supporting documentation, lots of PDFs, lots of, this is where this project came from. Whereas I feel like we actually probably miss out a lot on the I's, the S's, and with the D's, because they don't have a lot of time for it. So that would be my best response. Great question though. Any other? Are people generally more than one? Yeah, people are generally more than one. They usually have deficits in some. So my profile, I'm a high I with my second highest is D. And then I have a little bit of S and hardly any C. So it doesn't mean I can't do those things. It just means that it takes me a lot more energy. Whereas being with you today, loving it, having a great time, could do this forever. So if we are stat planners, then we're more likely to do an ordered person who thinks, yep, in a logical order, yep. So that would be true. So if you're a stat planner, again, HR recruiters use DISC a lot, or they use behavioural elements to actually assess an employee's readiness for a position. So yeah, they tend to like order, and that could be part of your job too as a stat planner. You've got to make sure people have got all that supporting information. But great. All right. Move on. So now again, let's look at how the Comedy Festival has included DISC. So I'll show you how they've done it. So I'll keep this up. Actually, no, I'll go like this. So when we get off the call, make sure you go and have a look. We'll send you all these notes and you can compare what we're doing. So for a D, they've got really clear headings, clear information, lots of visual information, and all the information is on top of the fold. So this is the top of the fold here, just before we start to get to those videos, and you can see really clear headings. A D can go in there, knows what the date's going to be, knows how to book a ticket, knows how to navigate the site really easily. For an I, will it be fun? And you can see they've got linked to social profiles, what others are enjoying, what others are saying, because that's what the I wants to know. They want to know what's happening. There's videos to watch and experiences to show, so they can start to get really excited about it. Again, clear headings, clear information, so dates, cost, parking, and all of this information is again on the top of the fold. And I's and D's differ slightly. So an I is often likely to go off chasing butterflies, and I can say that because that's part of my profile. They're often likely to get distracted, and that's why they're likely to leave. So sometimes having, on an online engagement project, you might have other projects that are happening at the same time. That can sometimes be detrimental for an I because they'll be off following that shiny object. Whereas the Ds, they want all the information at the top of the fold because they want to find it easily. S is about will it be comfortable? So you can see some of these elements here. You've got a sign in on the top of the page here for the Comedy Festival. So they're more likely to sign in, save their favourite shows for deeper thought and reflection later. They're more likely to go in, read reviews. Having those shows as examples is really great for an S as well, because they can see what it's going to see. Bias, they can experience what that's going to be like and make sure they get comfortable with what's going to happen before they go there. They'll also delve a little bit deeper into some of the venues as well. So venues, parking. So again, it's all about making sure that they're comfortable and they feel comfortable. So they're going to fact check a lot of that information. C's and a D are similar in their behavioural patterns, where they can be very purposeful in what they want, whereas an S and an I will meander more around the page. They want detailed information, but it needs to be specific. So specific cost, parking, location, using the search function for the genre, the dates. They're more like a logical layout. So knowing that there's less detail at the top and then more detail down the bottom. So that suits their preferences. Having a sign-in function, again, with favourites to consider later. And then detailed instructions, so how to book, venues, calendar, etc. So what are some of the ways now for you, from what we've talked about now, that you would consider how you could incorporate those DISC preferences? What are some ways that you're already doing it, or what are some ideas of what you could bring in? Yeah, great. Vicky's just made a comment, which is fantastic. And sorry, I forgot to mention that before. We all have biases towards what we naturally do. So as someone who's visual, I have to make sure I add auditory measures. So I will always prefer my modality. So even this presentation, you'll notice it's very image heavy. And so I have to actually work a bit harder to make sure that I'm using those other things. And same with the DISC. So I'll assume that I will assume that people won't need as much detail without knowing what I know. I like the idea of looking at it like a layered cake. Yeah, absolutely. Yep, that's a great way. And you like the look of it, so you would be visual. You know, you're imagining it as a cake, which is fantastic. So that's your modality. Clear headings, showing people, yep, who are participating, offering detailed reports, videos, social media. Yeah, great. Having options of colour and movement. Yeah, click here. Yeah, incorporating DISC into the planning. Yeah, great. Great one, Kate. Yeah, really important consideration, thinking about how the page layout works both on mobile and DISC. Sorry, mobile and desktop, because you'll definitely annoy the Ds if they can't get the information fast. And it's layering it. So it might seem as if you're going overkill. Look back at the comedy festival, and you've essentially got a lot of the same information being repeated in multiple ways. And that's really what you're doing. Yep, calls to action. Perfect, Jeff. Because that's what's going to get a D. Bang, this is where I book. Bang, this is how I participate. Yeah, fantastic. Great. And you know, some of those social options, Matt, that you mentioned are so good. And they're so good for someone that's an I that wants to know what it's like, because we want to make sure that we're getting some of those positive messages. And you know, I often would hear from project managers, no one ever tells us what they like about the project, or no one ever tells us, you know, what's good about what we're doing. And it's often because you're competing for someone else, with someone else's time. So they're off on Instagram. We never ask, yeah, maybe I might need a bit more detail. We never ask what that means. Talks about museum visitors as streakers, strollers and scholars. Love that. Yeah, amazing. Yeah, well, exactly. Scholars, you can imagine being a C, just simply because of the amount of information they can take on board. Yeah, love it. Great feedback. All right, let's move on to social psychology, and particularly marketing. So these are a bit of a plug here on the right. Conversation Caravan. Make sure you follow us on Instagram. Cracking myself up here. Social proof, likability, and scarcity. So these are some of the things that I employ in my business, and really we can do it in engagement. And recently did put out some scarcity on a project to get some interest and attraction, which I'll talk to. So what is social proof? So social proof is proof that other people are doing what you want them to be. So in a business sense or in an engagement sense, social proof can take place as a testimonial. So again, shameless plug on the right, a testimonial from one of our clients. That shows other potential clients, okay, great, they're not weirdos that hang out in a caravan and potentially smell, because that's what they might think. They, you know, people like working with them. Photos of us out engaging. People can experience what's it like, and also for other potential participants, you know, they say, oh, okay, well, no one's going to be standing there, you know, with a clipboard. I don't have to do anything, you know, I don't have to do anything that's out of the ordinary. So they can, for those ones that need a bit more comfort and reassurance, they can see what it's going to be like. So again, I think a few of you mentioned before, social proof can also be vox pops, it can be videos, anything that shows people that are participating. The law of likability, again, I haven't made any of these up, so you can go online and search them. The law of likability is seeing someone that's similar to me doing what you're asking me to do. So, for example, the theory is if you ever want to teach a kid how to swim, don't show them a video of an adult swimming, because they can't relate it. For them, that's an adult. Adults are magical big people that are very different to me. So you need to show them a kid swimming. You know, likewise, adult doing something, show them an adult learning it, because we'll reject it. Our mind's really good at rejecting information that we can't relate to. So we did this for the City of Melbourne. So we had a project around climate change, and we found that we weren't getting a lot of male participation. So what we did on our socials was do a couple of vox pops around what someone's big idea was for climate change and what action from the City of Melbourne's climate change strategy people liked. So we wanted to get more younger people, and we wanted to get more men involved. And you know, it's really difficult to measure. We didn't measure it. We didn't ask gender on the survey, but it's certainly something that's going to help. So we hoped that helped, knowing that that's one of the laws of psychology. Scarcity. So who's ever been sucked into buying something? You know, what's that big sale that crashes the web overnight? Scarcity is always used by marketers, salespeople. How often have you been into a JB Hi-Fi and, oh, check out the back, I've got one left? You know, it's employing the law of scarcity so that you'll actually take it. They don't have one left. Highly unlikely that they have one left, but they employ that use of scarcity. Ooh, is that a question? I'm a sucker. Yeah, me too. I know when you're on those websites and it's like you've got 10 seconds to buy, you know, they count it down, you know, how many other people are looking at this hotel, you know, hotels.com. Scarcity is really a common one. Airlines always do that. Yeah, exactly. They do, don't they? Yep. So again, what are some ways that we can incorporate those three elements? So think about those three. So we've got social proof, likability, and scarcity. What are some ways? And if you can be brave and push it a little bit further, think about scarcity, because I reckon we'll be able to nail social proof and likability. Provide reminders last week, last day. Yep. Yep, fantastic. Yep, advise when closing projects. Yep. Yeah, if you don't engage, then you're not, entitled. So being a bit provocative, yeah, love it. 3 days left. Yeah, love that, Talia. 3 days left to shape the future of your neighbourhood. Yep, share on social media after they've engaged. And social media can be one of those spaces where it can be a bit confronting for councils because they're, you know, it kind of goes out into the ether. Yeah, join number of people who've already been engaged. Yeah, wonderful. I actually did this recently on a project, sent out a lovely email reminder for interviews that we were trying to host, and so employed the laws of likability, scarcity, and social proof. Wrote an email that said, "Hi everyone, thanks so much for the 15 people that have already participated. Really great to get your ideas and feedback and make sure we're incorporating them into the project. This is your last chance. Make sure you get involved. Otherwise, we won't know how to help you." And it was amazing. Within an hour, 3 other responses came in, and this was something that we were struggling a little bit to get interest. Great. But here are some other ways. So social proof, testimonials, vox pops, photos of participation, particularly of age groups that you're wanting. So if you've got lots of, if you've got lots of children and you're wanting to get older people, or you've got lots of older people and you're wanting to get young families, then use the people that you want in that social proof. It's almost making it look cool to that age group is probably a very simple way. Likeability, so profile the stakeholder types, and again, highlight a range of them. Profile some of the decision makers. So a good thing with likability is people will do things for people that they like. So, common, I like Matt, I'll do anything for Matt, it's because I like him. How do you get that kind of relationship with the people that you're engaging with? So profile your decision makers, get them on a clunky video that talks about why this project's important, what they're hoping to get out of it, what they're nervous about. So make them relatable. That's the key thing. Profile the variety of comments, which a couple of you mentioned, so they go, "Oh, that's what I think. That's what I feel." Because again, if we then layer it like the cake, you've then got the S's going, "Yeah, oh, that's great. That's a great idea. That's what I think." And so because they're seeing other people's comments that they can either reject or accept, they're more likely to participate. Scarcity, so clear deadlines, draw out the contributions, use reminders, closing the loop, and profiling participants. So closing the loop's a great one because we all know the benefits of it. Make sure that we reduce fatigue and people feel like people understand how their feedback's been used. It can also be good of creating some FOMO. This is fantastic. We're out here. We're doing all these wonderful things. This is what you missed out on. Make sure you get onto stage 2. It can be used to create a bit of FOMO. And again, profiling some of the participants. So thanking them in a vox pop or sending that to. So just to recap, we're coming to the end and we'll take some questions. We talked about visual, auditory, kinesthetic, auditory, digital, and how to start to apply that. Spoke about DISC and spoke about some of the marketing principles. I'm going to take some questions too. I'd love some feedback. This is my first webinar. Would really appreciate some feedback there. So I've got a bit of a survey up online. These are my details, so shout out if anyone's interested in reaching out, having coffee or talking more about this. Very happy to. All it costs is a cup of coffee. And I'll start reading some questions. FOMO, join the number of people who've already connected, or pay lots more later. Love that. Great. Fear of missing out. Oh, sorry, what was FOMO?
Okay, thank you very much, Cindy. That was wonderful, really enjoyable and informative webinar. You're an absolute legend.
Oh, thanks, mate. Love you.
And just for all those who joined us, I wanted to thank you very much for your time today. It's been a great opportunity to connect with you. We will have a copy of the video of this webinar available on demand by this afternoon. So you'll be able to share around to colleagues who missed out. And for those who didn't make the live session today, they'll be able to follow up later. Mm-hmm. Part of that, we can also provide a link to the slides as well. And we'll also include a link to the survey for some feedback. But on that note, I'd like to thank everyone for their attendance. And if there aren't any more questions, we'll call it a day. Wishing you a successful week. Bye now.
Great. Thank you. Oh, it's hard to leave when everyone's saying wonderful stuff, Nat. It's the eye. I just want the eye.
You're the last left of the page.
I know, it so is. It so is. Look, there's people saying I can't leave them, Nat.
They're leaving.
Too
Awesome
funny.
work.
All right, thank you. All right, bye.
Bye.